Are you worried about your MCAT prep? Do you know how to properly prepare for the MCAT? In this video, we'll discuss how to improve MCAT scores and the best strategies for studying so you're comfortable for the exam on the test day. Hi, my name is Chris and I'm an admissions associate here at BeMo. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe on whatever social media channel you're watching this from now so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. If you would like us to help you get ready for the MCAT, visit BeMoMCAT.com to schedule your free initial consultation. As a quick tip, check out the timestamps in the description of this video to navigate to specific sections of the video that you're interested in. Here's what we're going to cover. How to study for the MCAT. How to improve your MCAT CARS score. MCAT prep courses. What you can do yourself. The ideal MCAT study schedule. By the way, we're giving away $50 Amazon gift cards every week to the best comments and questions, so comment below for a chance to win. There's this one thing that will dramatically increase your MCAT score. I'll explain at the end of the video, so keep watching to find out. Now let's get started. The first stop on your MCAT prep odyssey is to take an initial MCAT diagnostic test. This is in every way the most important part of your early work, as it gives you crucial metrics to work from. You may think you've got organic chemistry in the bag, but unless you just finished this medical school prerequisite, you simply don't know for sure until you've tested yourself. Your best options for diagnostic testing are the AAMC's free official sample MCAT and any of their 4 official prep practice exams. These are each 230 questions long and mirror the distribution of topics on the actual test. Take one of these prior to any other step. Make a careful record of your results, ideally utilizing the error logs to identify patterns in your blind spots. Save the other full practice tests to use as periodic assessments throughout your study. Think of them as progress reports, but at the outset, just take one. Areas in which you've scored poorly should be given priority, as you'll want extra time to read and review material, especially before moving on to practice questions. This leads us into the next phase, which is to establish a timeline and structured study schedule. Study materials. As you progress in your study plan, you'll need to incorporate some additional study materials into your sessions, in addition to the aforementioned course materials and diagnostic exams. Books. In addition to textbooks and the AAMC's official guide, you should make time to read challenging books outside of the core subjects of the MCAT. Why? CARS. One of the biggest aids in developing comfort with what the CARS section tests is getting comfortable reading and analyzing unfamiliar material. While you should still go over MCAT CARS practice passages, a big part of your MCAT CARS strategy should involve owning your skills in active reading. That is, carefully or closely reading a text and assessing its thesis, message, and conceptual content. The way to develop this skill isn't through reading familiar or easy material, but through challenging new texts that push your analysis and comprehension skills to evolve. Practice questions and question banks. For the phases dedicated to studying BBLS, CPBS, and PSBB, practice questions are a must. In addition to chemistry and biology, having a solid MCAT physics prep guide can be especially helpful as well. Having a good base of subject-specific practice material that you won't exhaust in a week is necessary to carry out a multi-month study plan, so utilizing a multidimensional question bank like UWorld can also help a lot too. In addition to subject customizable practice tests, the overall bank of questions is vast and can help you tailor your practice work to your specific needs with each session. Throughout your preparation for the non-CARS sections, you'll be switching between reviewing course materials, answering practice questions, and taking practice subject tests to regularly assess your weak spots and adjust accordingly. tutors and experts. Do you really need an MCAT tutor? If you're a non-traditional applicant from a non-science background or on a shortened timetable, working with an expert can be of immense help in both organizing your study plan and providing personalized feedback that you might have missed out on by not having such science coursework as an undergrad. Of course, it also depends on your learning style. Perhaps you focus best working in isolation or have scored consistently well in your diagnostic tests and only need to review material with which you're already comfortable. In either of these cases, choosing not to seek expert help may be fine, but if you need an especially good MCAT score to overshadow a less competitive GPA, or you find your ability to focus suffers when left to your own devices for months on end, seeking qualified and well-recommended help can be an absolute blessing. Any good MCAT tutor or prep service will allow you to test drive their services as well, so don't worry about having to make a commitment without getting a sense of things first. The CARS section is notoriously difficult for most students. Are you wondering how to increase your score? Here's some tips to improve it. Number 1, re-enroll in relevant coursework. Before we launch into steps to take during the months leading up to your MCAT test date, it's worth noting that CARS preparation in the broad sense begins long before you determine when to start studying for the MCAT. Analysis and comprehension skills aren't built overnight, nor even over just a few weeks or months. Given the prevalence of English courses in most lists of medical school prerequisites, it's worth considering taking some extra humanities and social sciences courses between now and your testing date if possible, which will not only help you develop skills useful for CARS, but for a career in medicine overall. If you've given yourself enough time between discovering your CARS difficulties and your next test date, you should ideally be able to squeeze in at least one or more of these courses, especially since they're largely intro level and sometimes even pass or fail. These subfields not only have a presence in the PSBB section of the MCAT, but contain crucial discussions and forces and structures that play a huge part in the way that medicine is practiced and administrated in societies. Additional work in sociology can also be a boon if you're aiming for an MD program like Mayo Medical School or Johns Hopkins that features special focus on public health programs. Number 2, get comfortable with the unfamiliar. The aspect of CARS that makes many students assume that it's impossible to prepare for and improve upon is the novelty and complexity of its passages. The series of passages in your test could include anthropological papers, excerpts from Victorian fiction, and just about anything else you can think of. As such, how can you prepare if the material is a mystery? As we've said in just about every article on how to study for the MCAT, CARS is about how you read, not necessarily what you read. From the very outset of your study, getting comfortable with unfamiliar material is a must, and so we recommend compiling a list of books, magazines, and short articles that are mostly outside your comfort zone. If you're a non-traditional applicant coming from the humanities, you may have greater familiarity with challenging non-science texts. But for many students heading to medical school, anything outside of the sciences may feel disorienting or frustratingly unusual. The only way to combat this is to diversify your reading early on and to do so in a way that doesn't put pressure on you, at least initially. The best way to incorporate unfamiliar readings is in a controlled and well thought out way throughout your months of prep. The main goal here is to assemble a menu that's diverse and workably challenging. Number 3, improve your active reading strategies. This builds on and clarifies point 2. After you've mapped out your readings for your MCAT CARS prep, you'll want to structure the way you'll read these texts. One of the reasons you're not power reading your challenging materials is that you need to not only understand their idiosyncrasies, but also develop a sense of how to read through them. You need to be able to dissect, analyze, and take away the main messages and arguments of what you are reading. Number 4, quickly and ruthlessly narrow your answer options. This carries for practice questions during your study phase as well as test day. As noted above, eliminating wrong or misleading answer options is the first thing you should do after reading a passage. It's a lot easier to choose between 2 options rather than 4, and the AAMC doesn't go out of its way to muddy the waters in this regard. That is, there will often be at least 1, if not 2 answers that just immediately stink of wrongness, and you should excise them from your attention immediately. CARS isn't a gut instinct section of the test, but you shouldn't discount your intuition either. Slice away the garbage and choose between the better or most likely answers before moving on in good time. Number 5, know why the correct answer is correct. Not only do you need to know why an answer is correct, but ideally, you should be able to articulate why in your own words. You obviously won't have time or need to do this on test day, but this point kind of dovetails with the controlled application of intuition mentioned above. If an answer simply seems right, but you can't explain why, it may very well be incorrect. Throughout studying, and certainly on the big day, you need to have a substantial sense of confidence in your answers to avoid waffling or doubt. Feeling that sudden pang of uncertainty and wanting to go back to a prior question is anathema to keeping up a confident pace on the CARS section, so give yourself an extra 10 to 15 seconds when needed to make sure you have an articulable sense of why you've chosen a given answer. Let's go over whether an MCAT prep course is the right fit for you. Are MCAT prep courses necessary? It's important to find out exactly what an MCAT prep course offers and if that matches your academic needs. Many students achieve success just by creating their own MCAT study schedule and sticking to it. You might be one of them, or you might be someone who could really benefit from an MCAT prep course. The average pre-med student needs around 350 hours of intensive, targeted preparation to do well in the MCAT. An MCAT prep course is a short-term study program designed to help students study for the MCAT. It usually involves a schedule of classes, online, in-person, or pre-recorded, prescribed study materials, practice tests, and other preparatory activities all in one package. It might provide exactly the help you need to ace the test. Alternatively, it could be a huge waste of your time and money. That's why it's important to consider all the pros and cons of self-study versus an MCAT prep course to figure out the right decision for you. Do I need an MCAT prep course? An MCAT prep course typically involves you spending your money as well as your precious time at a crucial juncture of your life. Before you decide to go for it, there are certain key factors you should consider. Time commitment. This is a factor that can influence your decision either way. MCAT prep courses can definitely save you the time you'd have otherwise spent on research, content gathering, practice test planning, and other logistical aspects of MCAT prep. Most pre-med students would have a very busy schedule. Planning for MCAT prep and sticking to your plan might seem like an overwhelming task. Enrolling in a course can give you a prepared schedule to follow with no fear of missing any key preparation. On the other hand, some MCAT prep courses have an established schedule of classes, tests, meetings, and office hours, and they won't adjust it for you. If you have a lot of other commitments on your plate, the timing of these classes could be inconvenient. It's worthwhile ensuring that the course timings suit your needs before you enroll. Strengths and weaknesses. Even the smartest, most academically successful students need to put in at least 300 hours exclusively for the MCAT prep. However, every student has different strengths and weaknesses, and it's very important to know your own before you begin your MCAT prep. The best way to understand your baseline and what areas of MCAT prep you need help with the most is to take the MCAT diagnostic exam. This practice exam will demonstrate both your strengths and areas that need to be worked on. Do you need help with one or more of the specific sections because you're not confident with the material? Are scoring poorly in the CARS practice questions and can't figure out how to improve your scores the issue? Are you thoroughly comfortable with the test content but are struggling to apply your knowledge while answering the passage-based questions? If you can accurately identify your areas for improvement, you will then be able to pick an MCAT prep course that actually works for you. Finances. Med school is expensive. The costs of med school tuition and other related costs start piling up much before you even apply. Let's talk specifically about the MCAT. It costs $320 to register for the exam, $350 for the complete official AAMC materials, plus another $200 to $300 for self-study textbooks. An MCAT prep course is another added expense. That's why, before blindly enrolling in a course, consider the cost to value ratio. It's important to ensure that you're not signing up for something you don't really need. An additional tip: a few courses also offer reduced tuition scholarships to students who are also part of AAMC's fee assistance program. You will need to submit proof of your AAMC fee assistance approval to qualify for the scholarship. Your progress. Have you stopped improving despite putting in your hardest efforts? For example, maybe your score plateaus or even dips after weeks of intensive studying and you can't figure out what you're doing wrong. Alternatively, maybe you don't have much time left and want to get the maximum improvement in a short period. In these cases, a MCAT prep course can help you make the most efficient use of your time. Ultimately, only you can answer the question of whether or not you need an MCAT prep course. The above factors can only guide you toward making a well-considered decision. Creating an MCAT study schedule is key in setting yourself up for success on test day. That's one of the first things we always discuss with our own students in our unlimited MCAT prep programs. Your MCAT score is a fundamental part of your medical school application and one of the most important initial considerations for admissions committees when evaluating your application. In a daunting 7.5 hours, the MCAT will test nearly everything you have learned during your undergraduate studies. The exam is meant to provide admissions committees with a way to compare students from a varied range of backgrounds and heavily influences medical school acceptance rates. With a test date in mind, when should you start studying? Be realistic. Be honest with yourself about how much time you have to dedicate to studying for the MCAT. Every student is different in the number of hours and months they put into studying for the exam. It is recommended that you devote between 200 to 300 hours of dedicated study time. If you can only dedicate 10 hours per week to studying, you may require 6 months to adequately prepare. If you can dedicate more hours each week to MCAT preparation, you may be ready in closer to 3 months. Build some flexibility into your schedule as well. Be sure to consider the amount of time you can study each week, including breaks and holidays, when determining how long you will need to prepare for the MCAT and when you will need to begin preparation. Lastly, don't be afraid to revise your MCAT study schedule. As you prepare for the test, log the number of hours you study each day and what topics you covered. Make note of your level of focus at different times of the day and assess trends in your studying. If something is not working, it is okay to revise your study schedule. Make tweaks to suit your learning style and spend more time reviewing a specific content area if needed. Aim to make your schedule as detailed as possible. Not only will this help you keep organized in your studies, but will also eliminate stress and anxiety from distractions like planning out of your day and finding the right resources. Remember, when you delve into content review and practice, you do not want to worry about where and how you will find the right information or how you can test your knowledge. What your schedule should include. Time commitment. Start by reflecting on your commitments outside of MCAT prep. Recall all your academic, professional, extracurricular, and personal responsibilities. In your schedule, write down how many hours each activity requires per week, i.e., write it on the day it takes place and how many hours you will spend on it. Then write how many hours you can dedicate to MCAT prep that same day. MCAT content areas. This is self-explanatory, as the first phase of your MCAT prep will be focused on content review. Your schedule must include the disciplines and concepts you want to study and practice with. To keep in line with MCAT's format and sections, you can use their content outline as a reference when you fill in this section of your schedule. Resources and study strategies. This is perhaps the most important section of your schedule, as it outlines what sources you'll be using to fill in gaps in knowledge and how you will retain this information. Make sure to include the actual source, i.e. X chapter in X textbook, notes from X course, X book from the library, X video on YouTube, etc. And most importantly, write out which active study strategies you will use to grasp these concepts. Passive learning cannot get you far. You may think you understand something, but you will not know whether you can apply this knowledge if you do not use active study strategies like creating charts and graphs that explain relationships between concepts, taking short quizzes, explaining concepts to others, etc. Rest days. It may be difficult to think about breaks when you know that the MCAT is looming over the horizon, but it is essential to take rest days during your MCAT prep. Perhaps if you are pressed for time, it might be difficult to take an entire day off, but you must schedule some kind of rest once a week. Maybe you can take an evening off and watch a movie, or go for a walk with your friends, or go see a concert with your family. Remembering to take care of your physical and mental health. Check out our blog to learn more about MCAT prep. I have included a link in the description of this video so you can find the blog easily. If you would like us to help you get a high MCAT score, visit BeMoMCAT.com to schedule your free initial consultation. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, so please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. If you have any questions about MCAT prep that I didn't cover in this video, let me know in the comments section and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Don't forget that we're giving away $50 Amazon gift cards every week to the best comments and questions, so comment below for a chance to win. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.